Hey guys, episode number 14, Facebook Live, coming at you. 14, sorry. Right there of 10-minute kick-ass coaching. I want to welcome you back for our final session this week. This one's going to be a good one. It's been brought up to me many, many times, the situation I've run into. And it is going to cover a lot of bases. So especially if you're a manager or employer, you have employees, this one's going to be extremely valuable to you today. It's how important is it when your technicians, you have a meeting in the morning and you go out and your technicians go out in the field and they don't necessarily do what's supposed to be done or speak to the customer, deal with the customer correctly, and have an ongoing situation where you're constantly having customers go, what's this, what's that? This one's personal to me. I've run into that myself. So what do you do? How many opportunities do you give it? How tolerant are you? And what do you do in this situation? Well, I am a semi-paramilitary type of mentality, and to the good end, not the rigid, ridiculous, life-saving side that the military has to be on. My particular attitude on it has systems and structures and processes, and you follow the system structures and processes. That's how you get things done. So I'd say that's probably one of the key things about it. If you have an employee or technician and you've met with them and you've gone over any concerns or evaluations and they go in the field and do something that's completely the opposite, or it comes back to bite you, you have an upset customer, whatever the case is, what do you do? My feeling is this, simple as can possibly be. The person does work for this company. I work for the customer. Technician works for me, so it's a step down a process. Customer, me, technician. Without the customer, I'm not here, and they are definitely not here. So my philosophy on that has been, they need to do what is being said. Now, if they don't for some reason agree with you, they have a difference of opinion, that's fine. Bring it up in a morning meeting, bring it up ahead of time, bring it up over a phone call, over an office meeting, whatever the case is. Make sure that's handled before time if they are objecting to a particular directive, objective, whatever the case it may be. If they refuse to do that and go into the house or the building and deal with the customer and they're not doing that, that is insubordination to me. Depending on the degree of what exactly happened or how it went, is how I will effectively deal with it. But as long as it's not been anything major, it might have been just a difference of opinion, maybe a mix-up. Does happen, no big deal. We're going to talk about it, try and get to the root of it. If it doesn't get solved, then we take a step like a write-up, or it could be as much as depending on if somebody just gets up and walks away in the middle of a job, that's an insubordination that's terminable. And we are in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, we're what's called an at-will state. So a technician or an employee can end employment at any time for any reason, without notice, without provocation, without anything. Same thing for the owner of the business, the manager of the business. If they're not happy with the workmanship or the track record of their employee and their performance, they can end it for no reason at all, without repercussion at all. That being said, within those guidelines, what's probably the best way to work that out is to find out where the problem is, where the disconnect is. Is it just the technician, not being flexible, being difficult, or is it maybe something in the management end where it's not trickling its way down? I've seen it on all sides of it. I've seen it where the management wasn't effectively communicating to the employees, the technicians, and saying, hey, this is what's got to get done here. This is what is on the board today. This is what we want to accomplish. But that didn't get effective. Make sure you take blank, blank, to blank to do this job. You're going to need it. The management didn't say that. Technicians go in the field. They don't have it. And then it becomes a fisticuff between the owner or manager of the company and the employee. So effective communication is very, very important at the core of it, to find out, was that said ahead of time, and was it communicated effectively to your field staff or your office staff, for that matter. It doesn't really make a difference which, or it's depending on making sure that whatever you said was transferred down the ranks, so to speak. If you have an employee or technician that is continuing to defy or question, and it's okay. Again, I don't have a big problem with the questioning. I have a big problem with the questioning and making it a customer issue. If they go into a customer's home and the customer's going, wait a minute, the office staff said this, but the guy in the field said this. That creates a really rough situation for both sides, for both the office staff, management, and the technician. Again, that's important to make sure you're on the same page. First thing that's important in some morning meetings. A subject we're actually going to get to this week is how important, how often you should have meetings. But for the simplest process possible, when you have a meeting, you want to make sure that everything is gone over. And if it's in writing, great. I always liked it. I worked for a multi-truck carpet cleaning company, and we always had what was called an open order. And an open order had all the jobs and notes about the jobs, and you were supposed to look at the jobs. You might be job number 22, 35, 2. Doesn't make a difference. And on each of those had the customer's information, phone numbers, and what you were doing on the job site, and the notes on the job. And every day, each crew would go out with different. They would go out to their first job. So if crew number 1 went out to job number 5, crew number 2 went out to job number 10, crew number 3 went out to job number 1. Effectively, they would go to 1, see what notes were on there, and follow that. It's a great idea. Works for multi-truck franchise type companies very, very well. All the information's on there. Today, if you're using software like Service Monster, I think it's called, or you're using House Call Pro, or using any service software in particular, you have the ability to put that information on there, and the technicians go over it. If you're having a regular meeting in the morning, you're able to go through, talk to the technicians and explain to them what's got to be done, and go over and review what's on the paper. Because even though it's written there, it's always good to read it out and say, hey, you crew, John and Roy, say in particular going to job number 1, you go over and say, hey, crew going to job number 1, Roy in particular is the guy running the job, this is what's got to get done. Take a look at your notes. Your notes indicate what's got to get done. So making sure whatever's on there gets transferred, it gets done to the customer. It can't say on the notes, customer is pain in the ass, because the customer might see these notes. They're not supposed to. They're for the crew and for the office, but they might go into the house and write it, and the customer goes over, takes a look at this paper, and says, customer is a pain in the ass. Now you've got a really bad situation about to happen. So making sure that the communication is effectively dictated between the office staff and the people out there and the technicians in the field. And if a technician just isn't a good fit, if an office person is not a good fit, if a sales rep is not a good fit, if a manager is not a good fit, you'll know pretty quick, because you'll have these things in place, these systems in place to say, the communication block was where? Was it with the technician? Was it with the management? Was it with sales staff? Was it with senior management, ownership, whatever the case is? Well, the owner, again, could do what they want, but they're not going to have a great business if they don't kind of follow within that timeline too as well. Everybody's on the same page, so to speak. So opportunities when it comes to having a mix-up of what's being told in the field or what's being done in the field that's directed by the office is, to me, a situation where you might want to talk about as a minor issue in the beginning, and then you have a write-up system of 3 steps: first step, second step, third step. As long as they're not severe issues, they're not swearing in the house at the customer or just out of line, belligerent, insubordinate. If you're grossly insubordinate, you're done. Doesn't make a difference. I'm not going to go 3 rounds with you. You have to have some candor in the house, some professionalism, some temperament in the house when you're dealing with somebody, or the business when you're dealing with somebody. So if that person cannot get along with the other coworkers, and it comes out on the customer, that's just something that cannot be tolerated by any means. You'll never grow a business. And if you let it go and you say, well, this guy's a good guy, I know he's going through problems right now. You talk to him and you say, listen, I know you're going through problems right now. It's got to stop. I'm giving you some slack, but it can't continue. And if it continues, then he knows he's going from doing something stupid to doing something ignorant, and ignorance choosing to do it and continuing to do it anyway. And you choose whether you're going to allow that in your company. You're going to allow your customers to have that. Me, I have pretty much a low tolerance for it. I've had it where staff has left houses in the middle of jobs because they didn't like the way the management was saying something to them. I've had employees get into fights with customers because they didn't like the customer, and the customer might have been out of line. But that's not for them in the field to dictate. That is for them to call management ownership, whatever the case is, and say, hey, this customer's, dropping the F-bomb every 2 seconds, or this, that, and telling me what I'm going to do, and this is what the office said. You get us on the phone. You get somebody on the phone, you say, this is what's going on, this is what I'm running into. It's then our job as a manager or as an owner to get on the phone with the customer and figure out where the disconnect is. And if it's a customer that is irate and you can't solve it, you have a very simple decision. You walk the hell away. You don't mess around with it. You get out of it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today for the last session of the week of 10-minute kick-ass coaching. I apologize. I have the TV on in the background there, but just wanted to go over some of these things about what's proper and what's not proper. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day, and thank you for joining us for episode 14 of Kick-Ass Coaching. Thanks. Bye.